it's not working. There we go. Here we go. There we go. Okay. We're I had a start go off. Say something, Snutt, real quick, just so that people know.
Something Snoot.
There we go. Awesome. I can hear you. Most likely they can hear you. I have a few people watching me. Don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button and like button and all the other buttons. I'll say that right now before I forget later on. Okay. So I didn't have such an awesome introduction because he had such
Oh, this
unique
interview is
stuff.
over.
The unique stuff they had on his stuff with like fish and chips and all that stuff. I was like, I have to do
Yeah.
something. But this is Snut Triptau. He is a photographer extraordinaire, and he's done a lot of programming. And that was all you had was photography and programming. So that is a unique and awesome combination. And I couldn't think of anything funny to say with those two things put together. So I
There's so
apologize.
many. Yeah, that's fine. So
Okay.
bland.
So okay. So you are a you are a programmer for Coffee Stain Studios. In case people
Yes.
don't know this, and you've done quite a few things. Have an awesome programming behind the scenes YouTube channel that I'll put down below when I remember to get that link. Find it again.
Cool.
Um,
Yes.
but let's talk about a few things. According to my background on you,
My
um,
background check, my extensive like
yes,
CSI
yes,
scoop
extreme background check, aka using LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Um,
Yeah. Fucking do it.
LinkedIn, you, let me
Mhm.
see here. The most unique thing you had was uh,
That
you
was the most.
were a tester for Steamworn Heist.
I was, yes.
So,
Uh
and I'm guessing you were able to do that because you're friends with one of the people who worked on Steamworn Heist. I think that's what I read.
yeah, so like Karin, who I did an interview with on my YouTube channel, she works on that game. What? No, she didn't actually work on. Oh, did she? No, she didn't work on that game, but she works at that studio. But that company is in based in Gothenburg, which is the city where I live.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so that's mainly how I know those people. I know a lot of people from Image and Form, is the name of the company. Image and Form and Soink are like two pretty big game companies in Gothenburg. There's also Ghost Gaming, who makes Need for Speed. And then there's the old company where I used to work, Hello There. It's also pretty big in Gothenburg. So those are like and there's a bunch of other, there's a lot of indie companies in Gothenburg. Uh,
Okay. So hello there. I did
yeah.
look at their I tried to look at all their games, but it looked like they had like a million games that I didn't know and a couple of games I recognized. They look like they make a lot of independent
Yeah,
or
so Hello There are really good at making a lot of games. So I worked there for like 3 years or 4 years or something like that. And I worked on a game called Invector, which actually is re-released on Steam today. It was a PS4 exclusive for a long time, which is a music rhythm game with music by Avicii. Um, but yeah, I worked on that, and then we worked on a ton of mobile games. Uh, the big benefit of working there is like when you're applying for jobs in game dev, it's really good to have shipped games, right? That's one of the most valuable things when you're applying for game dev jobs is the fact that you've been through a whole cycle of making a game, because a lot of people, like everyone can, make a prototype kind of, and get something going and like code a bit. But there's a lot of intricacies to releasing a game that has to do like, with marketing and with finalizing products. If you're releasing it on storefronts, then you get like good insight as to those work. So like releasing on Steam is very different to releasing on PS4 versus any other Steam front Epic. So the most valuable thing of working at Hello There was the fact that we finished a lot of games, and I got to be a part of working on and finishing a lot of games because we worked on short mobile games, kind of, and it's the same thing there. Like you're still releasing to like Apple Store.
So most of them were Apple.
So yeah, it's not most games I worked on, I think, because I worked on a lot of different games, or like I worked on longer titles, whereas a lot of other people worked on like smaller mobile games. But we've made like huge mobile games as well that took like 2 years to finish, or even more. But yeah, that's the big benefit I got from working there, is the fact that you get a lot of short projects, but you get to finish them fully.
Okay.
And you compare it to like working on Satisfactory, which has been in the works for, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years or something like that. When you're starting your game career and you work on those titles, like it's not necessarily true that the game will be released. So you'll like work for 4 or 5 years on a game that no one gets to see. And that's pretty common actually in game dev. That you can spend a shit ton of time and then nobody sees anything like for it.
Oh, that's
so that
cool.
was really good at Hello There.
Awesome. So I do have a few questions for you. What is your current camera? Because if you are a photographer, that means your current camera should not be an Instamatic or some other.
Dude, I can like talk for days about cameras. So I have so many cameras.
Because this is something that I right
think
now the only cameras I own are all webcams.
So I'm Canon. I'm like a Canon user all the
Okay.
way. I've used Canon for 15 years, maybe even more. I started working as a photographer 2007, 2008. That was a long time ago. And when I started working, I used to use this camera. And this is a
I
big fucking
recognize
beast.
one of those.
Yeah, so this is a 1DS Mark II, and this was like brand new at the time. It cost way too much, but it's still like fucking amazing. This camera still pumps out amazing pictures that you can't like. Maybe it's because I'm so attached to it. This is a really goofy camera as well. The screen is tiny. Like this is way before like high-res screens and stuff like that and touchscreen. So like you had to like finagle a bit with it. But the pictures are still super good. And I love it to bits. I hate that I can't use it as much because it's heavy as fuck. It's like, this is without a lens, but you can easily kill someone with this.
You can double the weight with a lens.
Yeah, and nowadays I'm using this one, ESR, which is without, what's it called? It's mirrorless, which is a new to me, first to me, because I always like mirror cameras. And the camera I have right there is an M50, and then I have a few more. I have like 2 5Ds as well, because I used to work as a concert photographer, and the thing about concert photography is that you have a really short amount of time to take whatever photos you need to take. So if you need like a different lens on your camera or whatever, you don't really have time to switch it out. So it's much more efficient to have like a bunch of cameras with you instead. So I had to I rented cameras. I bought a bunch with, same brand. And then I just had a bunch of cameras with me and I tried to run around with that.
Do you carry any old style film cameras on you at any given moment?
So I've never had a good phone camera. What I have carried around is small, half shitty cameras, because really nowadays every camera is good. You can't buy a bad camera anymore.
Okay. How about
I used to have those
film cameras? Do you have any of those?
No. Well, that's not true. I have 2. I have a Nikon. I have an old Nikon camera that is film that I haven't used in years because it's a lot of work to what's it called? To develop, that's the word. To develop film. Also, you need to have a room, and when I used to live with my parents, that's when I did most of film photography. Because I could be in my basement and I could like close it off. Now I have like a window every single room in this apartment, so it's not possible. Um, but I have an old Polaroid that if I can find film for it again, I think it works still. And those are pretty fun. And you can kind of buy new Polaroid cameras, I think. So I should probably buy one of those.
I have seen new like Polaroid like cameras, and I did buy some a really interesting little like printer for a
Yeah,
phone.
yeah, yeah.
So you're able to sit there and take a picture with your phone and go, "Hey, you want a photo? Here you go."
Yeah. It
I thought that
reminds
was
me of the Game Boy camera. I think that was like legit my first camera actually.
the Game Boy camera is
Uh,
your like. Well, that gets rid of my next question. What was your first camera?
I think that was my first camera. Um, but yeah, that was my first camera, and I owned like even my first camera was also a Canon. It was like a small. I wonder if it's there, but it was like a small, like consumer camera.
Okay.
Um, that was film. That was a film camera. So you like had to send them in and get them developed. I didn't develop them myself.
Well,
That's
back
how
in the
old I am.
back in the day, a lot of people had those, and I don't I don't even know if they have film centers anymore. They probably will,
No, I
but
well
somewhere in the world.
maybe in those obscure like camera shops, um, there where they like do a ton of stuff because there's no camera stores in Gothenburg anymore because it's like cameras people don't go and buy cameras anymore. People buy them from the internet, right? So there's a few who do like a lot of stuff. They like develop or print stuff and then they act as a camera store as well. Maybe they do it there. I don't know, but I doubt it.
Okay. What type of photography do you enjoy the most?
So the thing about me is that I haven't done much photography since, because like when I started working with, it started off as like something that I really like doing on the side because I used to be I my ambition was to become a musician for my whole life. So I studied music up until like upper secondary school, and then I kind of realized like I'm not going to be a musician probably. I was accepted to like a university for music, but I got like cold feet and felt like I'm not going to be able to sustain myself. So I started photography, and then when I did it professionally, um, I got so tired of taking photos because I did it, for a job. So I stopped like photographing for a long time. Like my camera collected dust for like solid 5 years or something. And then now when I started working at Coffee Stain, when because I help out a lot with making videos now, I got really into cinematography, uh, which I've always liked, but I never like really pursued it until now. So I'm like not really taking pictures at all. I'm mostly filming stuff nowadays.
Okay.
When I used to like do photography, concept photography was by far the most fun. And that was also what I did like as a profession because I tried a lot of different things. I did like photograph, apartments that's up for sale or real estate, or I used to do kids photography, where it was a custom thing in Sweden where you'd have a photographer come once a year and take pictures of all the students in schools and stuff like that. So I did that for a while. Uh, but yeah, concept photography was always the most fun, mostly because like I used to be a musician and I knew a lot of musicians, so I got jobs via my old friends that I used to study with and now who are actual musicians. Uh, so I think that's why also I did it the most because of my connections.
Awesome. Fantastic. Um. So, like, if you were to help someone like me, so the cameras that I've owned in my life either are on my phone, so whatever quality those happen to be, um,
Right.
and then I had an old film camera that my mom gave me. but I never used it. I just now
Yeah.
keep it because it's was my mom's. Um, and right now, all the other cameras I use now are all webcams because I have like 3 or 4 of those. Um,
Yeah.
what would you suggest someone like me if I were to buy a camera that I wanted to take some good photos, but not can't spend a lot of money? And maybe I don't know. People out there will
So
figure this
yeah,
out.
like I said, like every camera nowadays is a good camera. What my I usually tell people is to go to a camera store, if they have one close to where they live, and try a few cameras out. Because a lot of photography comes down to not necessarily like what gear you're using, but rather how accustomed you're to it.
Okay.
So yeah, so like my preference for cameras has always been Canon because I know the system in and out and I know how to use them. Because like when you're used to a camera, you can take photos without looking at the camera. You can feel it out kind of and like quickly glance at it and see like, oh, these are the settings I need. Um, so generally, I recommend people to go to stores, and also because people at camera stores are really helpful, and they know, what they're really good at figuring out what fits you. Um, so like it doesn't really matter what camera you get, as long as you're taking photos. And what I also recommend, which kind of helped me, is to just like check out YouTube, because there's so much like or so many like videos about, oh, this camera is so much better than that camera, or like, oh, this is how I like professional photographers like what they use, which is like a completely different level maybe towards what you'd get if you wanted to get a cheap camera. But they are really good at like explaining that it's not the camera, it's the photographer, because there are like a ton of trials where people are like, okay, here's an iPhone, take good pictures with that, and photographers can take amazing pictures with iPhones.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
have a
mostly
few
about
people I watch that are like professional camera people, and they're like, "Well, I'm gonna try to do it with this phone," and then
yeah,
they'll do something awesome with it.
exactly. So it's really a skill more so than it's like it's a tool, it's you can't tell a carpenter that you can't do your job unless you have a really good hammer. Like maybe it'll be annoying for the carpenter to use a shitty hammer or like whatever tools they're using, but they'll still get the job done, right?
True, very much true.
Um, so I think that's my general philosophy in terms of gear. But I am like very much gear. What's the term? Like gear asphyxiation? No, wait.
Asphyxiation.
uh, no, wait. There's a term for this. Gear. What is it? Gear acquisition syndrome. That's what I was looking for. Like I'm really into gear.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah. So like the first way in for me for photography was the fact that I was so interested in the technology and the gear itself, and that led to uh me getting into like in more about the creative side of it rather than the techie side of it.
Okay. Okay, so shift gears. We're going to talk about programming now since we've done the
All right.
first half. So, like, down the sit there, what did you first learn programming on? First programming language.
Um, so I think the first low programming language I learned was C++ because I have this memory of when I was a kid. My brother, when I talk, hey Meza, what's up? Um, my brother taught me C++ when I was a kid, I think, because I made this small game which was like tell your own story type of game where you get like a bunch of options like you are in a forest, do you want to go left or right, and you're like I want to go right, and then okay, so I hard coded like every single alternative that you could take. You find a troll and hits you in the head, do you want to spank it or do you want to tell it a story, and you get to pick. So that was, I think, the first programming exercise I ever did, and that was like my brother like helping me out completely. And then I didn't program for like a long time until I think it was like around high school, where I decided to take like a extra curricular course, and I needed to pan out my points or whatever in our Swedish school system where you get like a set of courses that you get to pick from your own, and they won't necessarily count to your final score. It's just like you can take as many as you want. So I I picked like a programming course, and I failed that one actually.
Aw.
That was also C++. Um,
Well, that's good. In my high school,
yeah,
I learned programming. I took programming all the time, but I was learning whatever the teacher knew, and he knew Pascal. And
right,
the day I learned it, it was outdated when I learned it in the beginning.
right, yeah. Because to some degree, C++ was also kind of dated when I was learning it compared to like what existed at the time. Like C# was becoming a thing, and like Java, everybody used Java at the time. Uh, so it felt dated as well. It wasn't until because I when I worked for with photography for a long time, and I was like, I want to get because I was so fed up about all the work that goes around photography. When you're working as a photographer, like 10% of the job is taking pictures. The rest is like getting jobs, editing pictures, contacting people. Um, and I was so fed up about all the extra work. I just wanted to take pictures, you know, or take photos. So I was like, I should probably get a regular job. And I was like, hey, I can study computer science. Awesome. I'll do that. Whatever. And I just like decided to start getting into C# or Java, and I pretty much learned all my programming at university.
Awesome. Okay, so I know that when all the programming that I've learned over the years, I self-taught myself 99% of it.
Right.
I made a video game, and every single programming thing I did, of course, 90% of them all died horrible death because I lost them or corrupted or whatever. Um, so my thing was, where is this going at? I had a question and I've just lost it. Okay, I'll just continue on. So what is your current? Do you have a nice computer that you can do things on right now at home, or do you just have the
Oh
fancy
yeah.
computer at work?
No, no, no. My computer at home is much beefier than the one I have at work. For the longest time, I did not have a good computer because I wasn't really into hardware. I was never really into like getting a beefy computer. I was a console peasant for a long time. And I was really happy like on my PlayStation. Um, and like the computer I have right now, that's like the first computer that I legit bought myself, and it is less than 4 years old. I've had like scrap computers that I've gotten from my brother up until that point. Uh, so when I got this one, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking go all in and get like the most expensive parts I could get. So like the 1080 was just like released when I got my computer. I don't remember what year that was.
It was
So I
probably
was like, obvious.
it's probably about 2 years ago.
Was
Because
no, it was longer than that.
I don't know. I got mine when I put my computer together to start my YouTube channel. The 1080
I
was
think
the best,
maybe
and then
the
slightly after it, the TI came out, and I was like,
yeah. I like
"Oh,
because I was like, obviously I'm getting that, and I got like mad RAM, and I got like a motherboard that was way too much. It's great now when I'm doing editing because Premiere is so fucking unoptimized and it runs like garbage unless you have a beefy machine. Um, so I'm really happy that I did buy a beefy machine because I need it more so when I'm editing videos than when I'm like programming really. Because I used to have a laptop that I did all my programming on for a long time, and it was a ThinkPad, and ThinkPads don't have like great GPUs. So I just lived with the stuff that I had. I think I was very much in the mindset I had with like cameras, where it's like I won't become a better programmer if I have a beefy machine. In hindsight, though, I feel like I would have saved a bit of annoyance if I had a better machine because my computers ran like garbage, and I just put up with it. And now I can't like imagine how I could ever do that. Oh yeah.
So you're talking about computers. You get geeks like me who are like, oh, can I get my first car or should I buy a computer? No, computer. Should I get my
Yeah.
second computer or should I buy a car? No, I'm gonna get my computer again.
Yeah. I have that more with cameras because cameras can cost as much as a car. Like,
That is so true.
yeah, like this one new was 6,000 USD. I got it secondhand or like from someone for half the price, but still, it was quite. And there are way more expensive cameras than that.
Yes, I've seen them. Okay, so here. Let's talk a little bit Satisfactory for people who are here from the Satisfactory side of the things. Um,
Right.
what have you programmed in Satisfactory so far? So if like
Hmm.
if we were to sit there and say, hey, Jace, if anything's wrong with any of the vehicles, it's all Jace's fault. It's all Jace's fault.
Yeah. So it's not really true, but like I've done a lot of networking stuff.
Okay.
I didn't create the base for it because I wasn't. Jace has worked on Satisfactory for the whole duration of the game. I came in later.
Okay.
I've worked at Coffee Stain for 2 years, I think, and Satisfactory was way into development. I actually took Jace's programming job when I was hired because I was hired because became full time or Jace became community manager, and some other programmer also started doing something else at the company. So they had like one spot they needed to fill. So that was me. So I got Jace's old job essentially. Um, so I came in and I've done a lot of networking in general in game dev. I worked on a fighting game where it was online on mobile phone, which was completely new when we made it. There was not a lot of online games on phones because it's absolute madness to make online competitive, real time competitive games on phones because of all the issues with it. Um, it's gotten way better now with how internet is distributed on phones. But like this was like when 3G was the newest latest thing. Um, so yeah, I've done a lot of networking. So I've done a lot of networking on Satisfactory. That being said, I have not done everything networking related. So whenever people are like, "Oh, fucking multiplayer sucks," it's not just my fault. It's multiple people. Um, but what I've been doing the last year or so is just like optimizing network, and that's like the only thing I've done for a year almost.
Okay.
But I've done like small things. I've done like I did the mass dismantle feature. I've done a bunch of UI stuff. There's so many things that I probably forget. I've done the MAM. The whole MAM was my uh was implemented by me. The machine you use to like analyze stuff. And there's like a resource kind of a tech tree, but it's not really because it's very linear. Um and I've done what else? There's probably a bunch of stuff that I can't think of right now because I've just been like so focused on network optimization the last year or so.
Okay.
Because I know that before I did that, I did a lot of small like features here and there, a lot of quality of life features, um, and fixing bugs. Yeah, essentially. But yeah, the big part of Satisfactory that I feel I can claim like ownership or so is like the rewrites we have done with network to make it work better. Even though people are like, no, it's still not good enough yet. Yeah, it's still not good enough, but it's getting there. And
Oh no,
there's a lot
I've
of
done a little multiplayer. I haven't done a lot of it because, like I said, I don't know a lot of people who YouTube with me. But
mm,
what I've seen thus far, I only had one issue with multiplayer, and that is the people
yeah.
don't go away when they log off. That's it.
That's unfortunately a design decision though. That's not a bug.
Oh,
I
it's
know it
supposed to
feels
be
like
that
one,
way.
but Yeah. Because the reason for that is because if you log out and if you have your base here and you run away from it and you log out when you're like far away from the base, we felt that it would be weird if every time you respawn, you always spawn back at base. So we felt
Oh,
like,
so that's to set your login location.
yeah. So when you log back in, you'll retake the same pawn in the game, so to speak. It's called pawn, the character. Um,
Okay.
so so it's because of that, and it's also because of um like it'll retain your inventory and stuff like that. And it needs to be a physical thing in the world because otherwise you could go somewhere and then log out and then somebody could build where you used to stand, and when you log back in it'll create like a lot of, you saved ourselves a bit of extra work to not
Oh,
like have to figure out how to solve that.
okay. I
There's a
understand
lot of
that. That makes
decisions
perfect sense.
because there's a lot of design decisions in Satisfactory that are from laziness, in a good way,
The best
because
innovations are from laziness.
y- yeah, because like if we weren't lazy, we would not have been able to make this game because we're really small studio to have made such a big game. Um, like we're 5 programmers now, I think, and we used to be like 4 or maybe we 6 or 7 like that. We didn't used to be a lot of programmers in the beginning, so smart, like we had to take smart decisions to not have to do a lot of stuff, and that's also partly why multiplayer is a bit buggy because we've taken a lot of shortcuts, if you will. So for instance, like everything is server authoritative driven, meaning everything needs to come from the server, and there's a lot of issues where people try to like build stuff and if they have lag, then everything needs to always wait for server. Nothing is like simulated on client just because it's much more complex to do that. Uh, so yeah, there's a lot of shortcuts or like decisions that we've taken just because otherwise we'll go down a rabbit hole and kind of just want to make a game. And all these issues will be sorted out at some point. We won't release Satisfactory 1.0 without having it the way we feel like a multiplayer game should be quality wise. But we also want to be on the road to deliver a game that people want to play and that feels, updated. Uh, because right now we're in kind of like that space, or we've been in that space where we kind of need to update the tech behind, like the engine upgrade that we've done, and like a lot of optimization stuff that you won't necessarily see if you download the game. If you wait like from since whatever April until now, there might not be a lot of features, but there's been a lot of rework behind the scenes to make the game become, Satisfactory 1.0.
I do have to say, yeah, the latest update you did, I watch a lot of Satisfactory on other people because I have to get ideas for myself, and a
Yeah.
lot of them are like FPS. I'm up 20 FPS
Yeah.
already, and this is awesome and fantastic. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Because there's a lot of obvious optimization decisions that we haven't taken until now because we just need to get the job done, and
hmm,
we'd rather like hype up the game for people before we start. And it's also because we're still figuring out kind of what the game will contain. Uh, like whatever features we're creating, if you add a new feature, then if you want to optimize for that, then it's good if the feature is kind of done. Uh, so yeah.
yeah. We just chat knows we both can see chat, and we will interdisperse what you guys say. Don't worry about it.
I see you guys.
So let's. I guess a lot of people have a few things, guys. Let's tax this gentleman right here. And what would you like to see in Satisfactory? And he will maybe write it down and maybe give it to someone, or maybe he'll just not. We don't know, but we can always ask him. Feel free to.
Look,
We can always ask.
if you ask me what I'd like to see in Satisfactory
Yeah, that's the first
is,
one I want to ask, and then we'll have other
yeah,
people start chatting away so that we can see you guys too.
because the one thing that I saw very early on, I think it was around E3 when people were talking about like what kind of mods that would be cool. And I don't think it's necessarily something that we'll implement, but I would fucking love it if someone modded this. So I saw when we released the first trailer, someone mentioned Cookie Clicker, which is an idle game where you make cookies, right? So someone was talking, like there was a whole discussion about how they would mod the game so they could create a cookie factory. Um, and that idea was so fucking cool, and I love that idea to bits. And once we have like proper mod support, well, people are already modding it. People added like muffin factories and stuff like that.
I
Uh,
did see the
but I
muffin
would love to
factories.
see, yeah, like they made there's like a farming mod or something where you can farm like plants and stuff, and then you can eventually lead up to you baking stuff, and you have like a muffin. It's an edible, and it's like the most it's the most OP edible in the game, right? In that mod. Pipes, never heard of it. Um, so
Pipes?
so
Who wants
that mod,
pipes?
who wants pipes? What are pipes? So when I saw that mod idea and there's discussion around it, I was like, that was when I got really hyped for Satisfactory. But no
Nice.
one's made it yet. Automation interface to manage power speed on off states. Um, so like, I think we're gonna add some type of interface for, like, I think we said that for a long time actually, but having stats for everything like they have in Factorio. Um, because if you want to like measure performance or whatever, you have to like kind of go into all the factories right now and like check that, yeah, I am running 100% efficiency. So it'd be cool to have like a more of an overview of everything. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, something that
uh
would you'd hook into your what would be your power network, and whatever's on the power network of this particular thing would be connected to like an overlay of some sort.
yeah, but I think mesa means here like more kind of minecrafty logic, like logic
Oh,
switches,
okay.
and um because Minecraft has a lot of, like, you can essentially build machines yourself. um And Satisfactory is much more of a streamlined game, where because we've opted not to have logic so far, because we want to keep it streamlined and we want to keep it like very um, open for whoever, like not necessarily people that are into factory games should be able to pick it up and play it without feeling overwhelmed. But
It's
there's
true. You
different
can't
tiers of
overwhelm
it as
some
well.
people.
Yeah, but there's different tiers to it. So I think that would be cool as well.
Oh, okay. Let me see here. Bugs. Bugs are awesome. Though the bug that I have, the most annoying bug that I see, I already told Jace this. You probably watched it. The fact that one of my vehicles, when I accidentally drive off edges of things, they don't go away. And my OCD says the car is there, but it isn't there. It's just on the map, and I'm like, I want to get rid of it. But it'll happen.
Oh, right. So what you can do is there are a lot of tools where you can upload your save file and you can edit the save file. So if that is annoying, you can upload it to one of those tools and like delete it from there.
Oh, okay. I am going to start
Uh,
all over when 3 comes out, so I'm not going to worry about it.
yeah. Well, yeah, you're gonna.
If all the
Because
cool stuff, and I need to be able to see all of it.
yeah. No, there's a lot of quality of life features that we want to add, and I think can be added. And there's a lot of quality of life features that we haven't thought of yet. Because when you make games, it's really hard. Because even if we play our games, there's a lot of stuff that we don't think about, and we might not even play the game the way that most people play the game. Uh, so there's a lot of stuff that we haven't like realized yet how important it is. There's a lot of so there was a period now where we've all been working on updating engines and stuff like that. So we haven't really played the game for a while.
Okay.
Um, and then our QA tester, our lead QA, he's like the only one who's properly played the game for real, kind of. And he's like, guys, the fucking placing walls is so annoying. Like, it's fine when you've played the game for 100 hours, but when you get to that 100-hour mark, placing foundations and placing walls is so annoying.
It is.
Um,
Especially when the wall flips on you and you're like, oh, no, I have to
yeah.
redo all this because I didn't pay attention and it's the backward
Yeah,
side.
it's really annoying. And also, usually those things are fairly simple to fix as well. Like some bugs we've had in the game for a long time is like 1 hour fix. It's just that we just need to realize that, oh, that's a quick fix, and then sit down and do it, which we usually do around the time when we have our internal like bug tests periods. Where we what we do is we sit down for like a week and we play like a whole day. We don't work, we just play the game, and then we realize like, oh, this is annoying, this is annoying, this is annoying, and then we can like okay, this is what we can fix quickly, and then we try and fix it the next day, and then the next day after that we try and play again and see if there's anything else we can like fix in that short time amount of time. And we haven't done that in a while because we've been so deep into it, sort of.
Oh, okay. Well, here's the suggestion I had. I can keep all the suggestions I have. It's only been 2 weeks since I had another interview, so I'm going to give you the same suggestions and hope that you both can get it done. But my big suggestion for like sorter machines, because I always have so far I built like 3 different versions of a sorting building, so I can unload
Right.
my inventory, it all gets sorted, and I don't have to worry about it. But the big thing I would like to see, you guys implemented one where if it can't go into the slot, it keeps going forward, which I loved. But I would
Right.
love to see a another version of that, which I call overflow. So
Hmm.
it would only go in the slot you have designated, and if it can't go into that slot, then it will go through. That's something I
I
would
think
love to see.
we've
Because right
I
now,
think we
if
implemented that.
right now you
I
have
think we
it, so
implemented that in one of the patches that we recently put out,
I
because
haven't
that
seen it
was
yet.
kind of
Because right now, the
maybe
way
not.
it is it is either you can tell it to not. Let's say, okay, I'm gonna use a suggestion. I try to visualize. I don't know. You can't see it, but
Because like say that you have like two directions and you want to store like biomass or whatever,
yeah.
and you unload your inventory. I think there's a way to set that, like if your biomass, go left. If your everything else, go straight in
Right
the
now, yeah. Right
splitter.
now you have it so that you can either have okay, only biomass go right, everything else goes straight, or you can
Yeah.
have anything go straight and biomass go right, and then it'll alternate between the two. But what I would like to see is if it's biomass, I want you to go right. But if that particular section you're trying to go is full,
Oh,
don't stop the whole system from running. Go straight.
I see. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's a that's a whole different beast.
So basically, right now is I always have to run through my system, and if I unload a whole bunch of stuff, and let's say I've been doing a lot of cement, and I don't actually come back to my sorting base for a while,
Mm.
and I keep unloading, let's say cement. I might find that oh no, the cement container I have is completely full. And
Right.
now I've stopped the whole system from running because it can only put cement right, so I have to unload the cement and probably delete it because this
Right.
had an easy way to fix it, and then it'll start running again. So I would love to have it so that it would keep running and then just unload it into my catch-all at the very end.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
like, oh, my
So
cement's full.
I think the counter argument I would have against that type of
Oh,
system
okay.
is that if you don't understand how that splitter works, then it's going to be confusing when suddenly like you've set this like filters like go right if you're blah, if you're, and everything else go straight, right? And then suddenly you start introducing contradictions. If you're not aware of why it's doing that contradiction, uh, then it becomes really confusing. So, but really, that's not the counter argument to as to why you shouldn't do it. The problem then we have to solve is how do we make that intuitive, and like how can we how do we make it design it in such a way that people understand what happens if there's an overflow for biomass not being able to go right, you know?
Yeah.
So and that is a
That's
really
another
tricky rabbit
problem.
hole. Yeah, exactly. So that's generally the thing about design features in game dev, is that if you look at a feature and you look at specifically that one thing, you're like, this is a really cool thing that would add this to the game. Um, if you start analyzing, okay, but how does everything else get affected by adding that one thing? Sometimes there's no effect. Sometimes it completely ruins some other aspect of the game,
Oh,
and it's
really?
really hard to notice that. It's really hard, even for us, like even for game designers that tackle these type of problems all the time. It's really hard to notice that this will break some other part of the game. And it's the annoying thing is that it can be something completely, like, something really small, like just adding. So when we added the mass dismantle thing, for instance, that was like, in community wise, that was by far something very positive. Everyone's like, there's nothing negative about adding that mass dismantle feature, right? Everybody was super pro it, and we were like thinking about it and we're like, yeah, it's a really good feature. And then we implemented it, and then we noticed that a lot of people are complaining about the fact that if you have a full inventory and you start mass dismantling a bunch of stuff, it will leave like crates all over the map. And that's
I've done that
really,
before.
and that's something that we didn't think about, or we thought about it. We were just thinking, it's not going to be that annoying, is it? And then people were like, no, it's pretty fucking annoying. So we're like, okay, how can we solve? So we need to solve another problem now, because we introduced something that's nice, but now we also introduced another problem. And it all goes down to change. Like, if you can solve all the problems down the line, or if you decide that it's a trade-off. Like, we get this issue, but it's so convenient to have mass dismantle, so people will just have to deal with it, slash, mitigate it. So that's a lot of game design, is just figuring out what's worth it, what can lead to problems. And there's rarely anything where you can certainly say that without testing that, yeah, this will definitely add this type of value, because stuff is complex, especially when you add more and more stuff. Like
So, like,
Satisfactory is a complex game.
it is a very complex game. So, like, the best question I've seen so far is, how is a cycle structured? Now, I'll call you Meza. Meza, are you talking about a cycle in which, like update 3 would be a cycle? Is that what you guys are talking about, or is he talking about something else? That's what I'm asking you, Meza, so that
Yeah,
I can
I can
ask him
talk
properly.
about I can talk about like our process, so to speak, or method, or is it varies. It's varied a lot depending from what update we worked on, because we're kind of trying out. When you're making a early access game, you have to be very reactive to what the community is saying about your game, what people are liking and not liking. So we've tried a bunch of different strategies as to how we develop the game, from update to update. So if you ask me, like, what was your process when you made update 1, which I can't even remember what that update was.
That was
Never mind.
the
But
having things go up vertically.
oh yeah, that was a vertical one. Oh man.
That was
Oh,
an
I have so
awesome.
many.
I can
Oh.
tell you right now, that was the best update ever.
So that update was not originally part of our roadmap. That was a thing that when we did our alpha, people were complaining so much about, or not complaining, but there was an obvious obstacle to build upwards. Like, people would create these like spirals, and I kind of miss those days, actually, because back in the day there were so many like strategies as to how to build the best like spiral staircase of conveyor belts, like, and there were different designs, like, oh, if you want to do it in 5 by 5 tiles, you can build it this way. And there's like a way to cheat it. There was a way to, like, if you build a slope and you place like one of the stack poles, they get like a bit of offset, so you could like put them even tighter. Um so like, I miss those days when people were trying to come up with the best way to make um conveyor staircases. And then we added that update with like conveyor lifts, and that whole discussion just disappeared. But to be fair, it made the game much more enjoyable to play.
I
Um,
know. I played when we didn't have the updates, so I was in there going, oh yeah. Like I did it for the longest time. I was like, I can't do it because I can't go vertical. And I'm like, why don't you do the twist thing?
yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
But then when we added vertical conveyor belts, that meant that, oh, you can build way more compact. You can build your base way more compact now,
yeah, it's
and
true.
like much more vertical. And our main argument with the game was that really that, you know, you want to utilize the 3D space as much as possible. You don't want to build flat stuff. You want to build up, right? So vertical conveyor belts really made sense. Uh, but the process for that was really that we had a bunch of meetings where we decided like, okay, these are the features that we should focus on, and we used to have these were the features that we used to be focusing on, but we feel like these are much more important. So and then we just the different disciplines like art and programming and whatever. So I should probably like step back a bit here. So the
Okay.
main process really is that our producers decide what we should focus on during our sprints or our development cycles, or you know the time frame that we have to make something. These can be big, these can be small. uh these can be like from release to update 1, or they can be like the next 2 weeks, you know. So they decide like features that we want to do. If it's a new feature that requires some kind of design, both in terms of art wise, like we need, like if we were the conveyor belts are a good, or the conveyor lifts are a good example, because it's like, okay, we need conveyor lifts. What do they look like? How do they work? So like we give it to our concept artist, Sophie. She makes like mock-ups and stuff, and she talks with our art director like, what should I focus on when I'm designing these? And she draws them out essentially. And then at the same time, our programming team is like talking to producers and talking about like what are the obvious design or the technical issues with implementing this, like what are the difficulties in implementing vertical conveyor lifts right now. And we're like, yeah, we don't have anything like that, so they should work kind of like regular conveyor belts, but they can't really because of blah blah blah. And we have to like figure out, you know, what works and won't work, and then also kind of do a bit of interaction design, like how do you in the game, how would they work when you pull them out, like the way they work now with the snap, when you snap them to buildings and drag them out like that. That's like one out of many design versions that we had for those.
Okay.
um and then, so yeah, once we feel like, okay, we can start programmers can start prototyping that. They don't really need art for that. And when concept is done, then they'll ship it off to art people who will create the models, and they'll skin them. Um, make like skeletons for the models and stuff like that. And then we give it to our animator who animates them, and then we kind of like try and fit them in the game together with programmers. Um, and that's essentially the life cycle of a feature. What's up, Simon? And it varies. Like some features are very like, we need a lot of art people to do something. Like if we're doing, say, like something with updating how the VFX works with water or something, just because Simon popped in. Simon is the VFX artist on Satisfactory.
Hi, Simon.
Um, like then you won't necessarily need a programmer because it's mostly like art driven. Sometimes it may be that, oh, if we want to update how the storage containers work, then we need to involve the UI people, because we have dedicated people that work with UI and UX. So they need to be part of the loop. So it varies depending on what type of feature or what type of uh, stuff that we're looking into adding to the game.
Okay.
But what I just described is how the heaviest features are implemented, where all the disciplines are part of it, and they're all like involved in creating one feature or one aspect of the feature.
Oh, okay. That's very interesting. I love that.
And a
Okay.
lot of it is, yeah, and a lot of it is driven from the fact that our community reacts in a certain way. So we make a lot of decisions based on what we feel would give like big impact to community and is also relatively cheap to implement. Sometimes we even like opt to not go for the cheap option just because we feel like community driven development is so important to us, especially in early access, um, where to some extent, right? Because some things we're, not doing. Even how much people fucking nag about it. But um so yeah, it varies, but like we really make decisions based on what we feel like would add a lot to the game that also people in the community, and that's the important part, what would actually add something to the game, right? Because not every time people know, like they might think they want something but it might not actually be what they want, so
It's true. It's true. So, I'm going to give you an example. Let's say, for example, my brilliant idea of a dirigible. Do you know what a dirigible is?
yes.
Okay. Let's say you guys all of a sudden decided that's a brilliant idea, even though I don't think it will ever happen. Um, you think it's a brilliant idea and you had to implement it. Is that like really, really hard to program into a game like this, since you have, you know, you don't have to worry about, you have to worry about gravity and things like that, or at least a simulated form.
So like when you say dirigible, do you mean like, do you want to build, are you after the aspect of like commandeering something, or is it some specific like,
Well, like
can you break it
The
down
way
for
I
me?
visualized it is, you probably implement some sort of natural gas that you'd have to collect and put inside a bubble
Yeah.
of some sort, and then you put like something like it have to be like manufacturingly, um, so like a structure that you would get in. You wouldn't be able to carry anything. As all I would really want is to be able to go from point A to point B and like look it from a high view and be able to take pictures and be like, oh, that looks
Mm.
great from up here. So it's basically you carrying yourself and maybe like one or two other objects. So it's
Yeah.
like it could be like very simple, like it looked like an exercise bike set on top of a thing with balloons above it. And you took forever to make this thing because you had to use lightweight objects and you had to get the materials, fabric, and you had to get the
Right.
gas inside. So
I
it's
think
nothing.
it's doable, I think. There are a few, like it kind of ties in with one feature that a lot of people are requested that we kind of opted not to do for a long time, is like drones, or, vehicle, like
Oh, okay. I've heard of that.
essentially vehicles where you can fly. And the biggest technical problem with that is that the way we stream levels, um, there's a big design decision around the speed of the player action.
Okay.
Because if you were to able to run much faster than you are right now, then we'd have to stream in stuff much faster, and you'd essentially be able to like run out of levels if the level didn't stream in fast enough, because we don't load the whole map in one go, right? We load
Yeah,
tiles
yeah.
of it and we stream it on demand. And there's a lot of design decisions around, how you traverse stuff based on that. So there's a lot of bugs where people like manage to like catapult themselves
Yeah, they
across
use
the
they
map.
use the belts to.
They use the belts. There's also one where if you take the tractor, there's like an antenna on that tractor. You can like bounce off that.
Oh, really?
Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Really, really like way faster than you can with conveyor belts. So I've seen videos there where they shoot like from one side to the other side of the map in like a few seconds. And when they do that, they um, fall to their death because we don't have time to load in collision because of that.
I love
Um,
it. Well, the
so
benefit
that's
of a
one problem.
dirigible is it's slow. It's a
Yeah,
very
that's true
slow
actually.
thing. Like
But
you have
but
a fan in the back, and it's as fast as the fan can
yeah, but the
blow.
next problem you have is the fact that the map, due to the way we load thing, have like level of detail on the map. When you're standing high up and you're looking down at it, it doesn't really look good, um,
True.
because there's we haven't really like opted the game for that, because we didn't really expect people to be able to do that. People figured out ways to do it anyway. even though we add like kill planes and shit like that, people still figure out ways to avoid it, or like build up really high. So we tried like we what we done as an artistic design or artistic choice is to add a lot of fog to the map, which I know a lot of people have this opinions about.
I do
Just to like
find that the fog comes in at weird moments because I have a train
yeah
that goes around a mountain, and in a couple places in the mountain, the fog rolls in, and then you
yeah
walk 3 feet forward, and the fog goes away, and it's like,
yeah
interesting. I wonder what is
and
hard
it's
to program in that one little area that they're like, this is easier.
so what it is it's our level designers who set like what's it called volumes of fog in the map. So the fog settings are essentially universal in the game.
Okay.
So you can't really have more than one fog. So what you're doing is just changing the setting on the fog, right? And when you're moving around on the map, if you're like if you're crossing the edge of one of these volumes, which there may be instances of on the map where we've not noticed it, then what you just described will happen. Like you walk into the fog volume and then you immediately walk out of it and it switches back and forth. And that's just like because we haven't figured it out. Yeah, like Simon's also pointing out some areas don't have finished fog volume set up right. So there are still like placeholders in the world. Which you may have noticed when you noticed like floating rocks and shit like that.
It was up in the area where there were some floating rocks. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and there are because there's a few areas where we just haven't tweaked everything, and we've not run ourselves there and noticed that, oh shit, this, because there's also parts of the map where there's water and then suddenly there's not. Oh shit, I love that sound effect.
Yeah, that you know how you have a significant other and you have to put a specific thing so that you pick it up, whereas every other sound you're like, I don't care. Okay. There's something I have to do slightly after this. Must do.
It's not important.
But no, I'm enjoying this. Okay, so let me see here. Is there any other question I can have? So I have.
Do you have any questions, Simon?
Do you have any questions by fellow workers that we could trip up your coworker and stuff?
Like I would like to know what the fuck Simon's doing nowadays, because I barely see what he works on. He sits like as far away from me as possible nowadays. Simon's like doing really cool shit. Because Simon is like, he used to be a technical artist and now he's a VFX artist, so he does like really cool shit now.
Well, anybody
don't forget the milk. Oh, yeah, I get it now.
Well, I do have to say, for anyone watching, two things. A, if you haven't liked this video, please do. B, if you haven't subscribed to me, please do. And number 3, if you work at Coffee Stain Studios and you would love for me to do things like this for you, and you're not too shy, I am at Krimdule, so Krimdule, and send me a message, and I will happily interview you. I want to interview everybody. Because I get a little bit of glimpse of game making, and I always find game making extremely interesting. Even the technical aspects, most people are like, oh, that's boring. I find it interesting. And I like to entertain myself, and I know a couple people out there once in a while like to see like behind the scenes of how your games are made. It's awesome.
But it is fun. Like I even enjoy watching other studios how they make games. It's like partly because I want to see how other people solve the same problem, and partly because to see the similarities as well. Because like it's very different to work at Coffee Stain compared to working at DICE, for instance. DICE is a huge company with a lot of people. How you manage that and what you do at a company like that is super interesting.
Simon, you're working on secret stuff. That sounds like you are playing your Switch while everyone else is working. That sounds like what I'd was saying to me. You've been caught.
Possible.
You've been caught. Okay. Does anybody have any other
It's a story
suggestions
mode.
for Satisfactory that he can tell you, problems that might arise? Because this is something I didn't have for Jace. Jace didn't have the forethought of going, you know, that's an interesting thought. We could possibly do that, but here are some things that could be in the way of that. I love the fact that you do that.
It's the, I guess it's just the constant, like, I think it's because I'm part of the dev team and Jace is more part of like the talking to people, PR stuff. I'm much more in the pit, so to speak.
In the thick of it.
In the thick of it, definitely. Because a lot of times when you talk about, like, even internally when we talk about stuff, you have to be able to articulate, reasons why decisions won't work. And this is because I used to work as a producer before I worked at Coffee Stain at Hello There as well. And that is essentially like, being a project manager essentially. And if you make decisions, you have to articulate why you don't want to do that. And that's something that game designers are especially good at, because game designers tend to be very articulate about, every single aspect about everything. Almost every single game designer I know that are like, they're super analytical about every single thing. Like our game director, Oke, you could, every time you had lunch with him, he'd always discuss something like super deep about everything. It could be like, you turn off your lights in your home, and he could be all like, he could have 50 different reasons why he does it. And I'm just like, yeah, because I don't feel like it's necessary to have it on when I leave the room. And he's like, yeah, but there's also the aspect of like, if burglars look into your house, they'll see the lights on, or because, the fact that you see in your other room, you see it lit. Like, he can like go on and on about all the different intricacies about why things are the way they are. And that's apparently a quality you need to have if you want to be a game designer, because you have to think about all these, how everything is affected by everything,
Okay, so
Uh,
I don't know if you're watching on Twitch as well. I stream on two different things.
ooh,
But I have a few people over there, and I have someone asking a question. So here we go. He said, network calls is a huge issue, and they
network.
Coffee Stain made some big changes there. Also, there is how to make a supercomputer with the tools that your game already has, or make some, or make more. I don't 100% understand that, but maybe you do.
I feel like one question is relative to like what I've been working on for the last year.
Yeah,
And
network
this is
calls. I
nice,
know.
like,
I knew that was up your alley.
and it's like essentially for most people it's fine. It might be two different things actually. It might be the fact that when you're playing, there's a lot of latency or lag, and that's based because like we use a server authoritative driven architecture style where everything needs to, like, every time a client wants to do anything, it needs to get an okay from server, and the server needs to tell the client what's happening every single time. And if you have a bad connection, then that can lead to like a lot of stale like commands, or a long time between what you're asking the server to do and what the server will respond to that, whether or not you can. So like if you're in a common problem with networking is if you have a player and he's running around and he's like, I want to shoot my gun, and he tells the server like, hey, I want to shoot my gun, and the server's like, yes, but you're not where you think you are right now, so I need to tell you that first, that you're in this part of the world right now. Also, if you fire your gun right now, it will not work because you're underwater. So I need to tell you that as well. And then you have to like loop back to client, and he's like, okay. And then you have to process that and tell the player like, okay, I'm here now. And you just like whoop, move the player or whatever. And then you have to handle like, okay, but the player still pressed the shoot button. Like, what do I do? And the server had like, all right, figure that out. So Satisfactory has a lot of, in the current version, there's a lot of issues with like, if you have poor connection from server, then it will take a lot of time for it to process client calls and then send client calls to client. And then if there's an extra latency there, it all like leads to these like loops of latency issues. And that's one thing that we're fighting. That's one thing that I'm working on
Okay.
to battle. And the other thing is some people have issues connecting to others, and that's because of NAT, and that's a pretty common like peer-to-peer issue with a lot of games where you are having difficulty establishing connection with someone else, because we're using the UDP network or UDP protocol to talk to each other, and that is not the most reliable protocol, but it's faster, right? So, and we're also actually working to fix those issues as well with Epic. So, there are a lot of things that we're working on. Unfortunately, a lot of network stuff takes a shit ton of time to get to work because they create very complex problems. But we're getting there. I feel confident that we're gonna solve most of the issues that people are having. Some people are also having issues that we are like, what the fuck? How we can't even we can't not reproduce it.
That always
And then we
happens.
just have to like kind of guess every update. We like guess like maybe this will fix it. Maybe this will fix it. That was long for the during launch. There was a lot of those issues where people like got random crashes when they're playing network online, and we were like, I cannot reproduce it. Like I do the exact same thing they do, and I cannot get it. But maybe it's because of this, and I add like a patch, and then we push it, and then like nope, it didn't fix it. All right, maybe it's this thing, and I just kept going until we figured out like how to solve those issues.
I'm a
So
technician for my main job, and yeah, I can go out to things and they'll be like, "Hey, it happens to this way every time I do it." Okay, cool.
yeah,
It's not doing
it
it for
works on
me,
my
but that's
computer.
okay. Okay.
But we were quite aware of that. There are very few things that people tell us that right now that we're not aware, which I think is good because we're not like um we're not getting like when we released the game, there was a lot of like, I'm getting this issue, and we were like, what? Like that's not possible. And then we have to like figure out why. We're not having those type of issues anymore, which I think is a um, good sign. Because every issue that people are like calling us out, like I'm having this issue, we're like, yep, that's on the list of things to fix. Uh, so we just need to get that list done, you know.
I said someone asked, "Did you fix the foundation color issue?" I didn't know that was an issue,
Uh,
but I've never
there's
tried to
one
color a foundation.
foundation. Yeah, so you can't color foundations right now.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. So people want to. Got it.
so maybe that's what technique means here. Uh, so yeah, maybe that's a feature request for the next update. Who knows?
Hmm.
We haven't done it, by the way.
Well, here's something that I suggested to Jason. I think it's really, really good. I want signs. Now, I know that lots of people want signs
Mm,
that they can put in themselves, and that would be very useful. And I know you probably
yeah.
get that 100 million times a day. Those I know will probably come. The signs I also want are ones that you would see in manufacture plants, like hard hat
Yeah.
only area, or caution, wet floor. You know,
Oh, I see. I see what you mean on technique. Yeah, it's those type of things will like come and go. We'll fix them as. But I think that's once fixed. But that we'll probably find a lot of other graphical hitches. But yeah, signs. Yes. I don't know what the state of that is actually. Um, but that would be yeah. I see the use case for it. And I don't really have a good like reason why we're not doing it right now, other than that we don't have time, I guess.
well, that would be a very good
Uh,
reason. You're
yeah,
working on other issues much better. You know, I'm okay with that.
yeah,
I just throw you guys
but
ideas once in a while, and maybe one or two of them will stick, and I'll be like, oh, I gave him that idea.
yeah.
Some little thing for me to.
No,
But
there's
awesome.
a lot of stuff that we're just like, yeah, this would make sense to make do. That's
Okay,
all
so
right.
on
Let's
the
do it.
Twitch again, someone he suggests this every single time because he really wants it. Fortress, we hear you. He wants resource sinks.
Resource sinks, like as in
Something like you
As
can
in
go.
like,
I just produced this gigantic manufacturing plant for uh, iron plates, and I want to be able to use these iron plates that I'm making 400 in a minute to do this, so that it keeps running into this thing to, I don't know, like use the, I guess, the space
oh, okay.
elevator. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So technically, the space elevator isn't one because the space elevator is like, because I assume they mean like any material
He
can go
wants to
somewhere.
be able to sit there and go, okay, I'll give you 700,000 iron plates. You give
Yeah,
me
yeah. Right.
seven of these
Um,
really cool things that I want.
yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know.
Keep suggesting it, Fortress. We'll keep telling people, and maybe it'll happen at some point.
Yeah. The one thing I can say is
But
requested on the QA site that we have. We have like, because you can vote on stuff. Like if there's features that we haven't thought of that people really want, uh, see if someone's already posted about that and vote on it. Uh, and yeah,
I posted
we'll
my
see it.
dirigible on there, and it got no votes, no anything. No one cares.
Oh,
It's okay.
but
I know it's
but
a
it might also
stupid.
be because people didn't see it possibly.
It's also true. It's also true. It doesn't really matter. Anybody else got any questions? Oh, let's see here. Navigation. Okay, maybe they will make proprietary physit things like navigation aids, radar emitters, or complex things that the player probably can't make themselves. I can. Yes, we can vote. I will find the link real quick. I had it before. It's like
It's
suggestions.satisfactory.com. Is
like
that what it is?
no, it's like question. Wait, hold on. Let's see if I can find it. It's like the longest.
I know it's like, yeah, suggestions or questions dot something
Yeah, it's question,
dot com.
something like that. Maybe someone in chat knows it. Because every time I have to look it up. It's like, so the thing was when we had our alpha, we had a super short URL.
Questions
If I
dot
remember,
satisfactorygame.com.
yes,
That's what it is.
that's the one.
Mhm.
So when we had Alpha Weekend, we had a really short URL for people to access a different QA site that we had. And then when we were getting to like early access, we were like, we kind of don't want to remove all the stuff that people already suggested. We kind of like want to archive that, but we can't really do that without creating a new site because the site we use for our QA is like um, something we kind of threw together at the last day, so to speak. So we archived that website and then created this one, questions.satisfactory, which has a way longer name. Uh, but yeah, that's where we are today.
Someone had the question: have you ever had guys ever had a bug that you turned into a feature?
Yes. Let me see if I can remember which ones. There's been a bunch actually. Maybe Simon can help me remember here. Because there's a few bugs that we intentionally also left in the game for a long time. There was a bug where when you use the jetpack, if you if you jetpacked up and then open inventory and removed it from your inventory, you would just like shoot up. And we were like, that's a feature. But so many people complain about it, so we had to remove it. But we intentionally left that in the game on release. But I'm pretty sure there's been like bugs where I think a lot of physics bugs have been like, whatever, just leave it. But I can't think of any right now.
Okay. Any other questions, guys?
There was one question about the hardest thing I've ever had to fix. And that is probably it's probably something network related. It's probably something, I mean, like I mentioned before in the beginning of release, we had a bunch of crashes. people would just randomly crash. That bug took fucking forever to find, and it was like we had people from Epic helping us tracking it down. But that was just like a crash bug. There was nothing specific.
Okay.
But a lot of people were having that issue in the beginning. Ooh, I remember one thing. When it was not the hardest one, but it was probably the most memorable bug for me. When we had like a test weekend before we released the game, where everybody could play, like everybody who had uh, submitted to be part of the alpha, they got like a weekend to play the game. And right before that, we implemented something with the like material and like the thing that I developed, the MAM, where
Yeah.
there was a bug where if you research one specific hard drive that you can find on the map, it would fucking it would brick like the whole MAM for everyone. And Jace very elegantly pointed out that that was my fault. So I got a lot of messages from people saying, "Hey, did you know that this is a bug?" And I'm like, yeah, I know." And I fixed it. And then I talked to our producers, like, I fixed it. We can push a patch. And they were like, nah, fuck it. We'll leave it in. So and like when we get like crash reports. So we see like if people crash using the like build gun, we get a set amount of crashes so we can trace them. And during test weekend, we had like, like, oh, there's like 2,000 crashes for this thing. There's like 4,000 crashes for this thing. Oh, and Snutt's bug. There's like 66,000 crashes for that specific bug. Like there's a clear difference in amount of crashes for one specific bug on that bug board. And I was like, yep, glad I'm not getting a lot of responsibilities there. And then I got to do the save system restructure, which also, kind of big deal. No big deal. Jace was also very diligent in pointing out that Snoot did this, so if everything breaks, it's his fault.
Okay. Also, I'm putting down below. I'm putting some links. I put that link in there. I'm also putting your web YouTube channel because I think that is, if you like interviewing like this, you'll like that.
Hell yeah.
Okay, and I found it. Okay, let me see here. Can't you make multiple sub URLs that all direct to questions?
Oh, I guess we could. Just haven't done it. there's a lot of yeah, we could. We just haven't done it when it comes to Sycophistane.
Booster belts being removed.
Oh yeah. So that might actually be. So that is a bug initially. That belts, when you stand on belts, the speed with which you travel on the belt does not correlate with the speed of the belt actually. And I think we fixed that, and then I don't think people like that. It's possible, Tom. It's possible that we'll, or that we add something else that will make up for it or something. I don't know. Because we don't want to, whenever we make patches and stuff like that, we don't want to really remove things that are good. We want to keep kind of the quality that we want to make the game better every time. We don't want to remove stuff. So it's possible that we'll take a ponder on that, see what people think.
Okay. Let's see here. I had come up with another question. What was that question? Great. I love when I remember something and then I totally forget it again.
That's my life in a nutshell. I have like extreme. This is especially evident when I'm streaming myself. Is when I'm doing something and I look over and I'm like, oh, what's that? Shiny, cool. And then I look back like, what the fuck am I talking about?
Well, that's what I'm doing right now because I'm trying to interact with people on chat.
It's
Um,
also hard because you want to listen to whoever you're interviewing, right? I do that a
yes,
lot in game dev circle,
I,
where I
I've
noticed that
I've
like
coined a phrase for this particular thing we're doing. I'm doing an interversation,
inter conversation. Yeah,
interview conversation, because I don't do a straight
yeah.
interview. I actually like. I've noticed that in interviews, people ask a set amount of questions. You do a set
Hmm.
amount of answers, and you're done. I don't do that.
Yeah,
I communicate. You can give me something, and I'll be like, "Oh, that's a good question. I'm going to ask this now."
yeah. So I do that as well when I do mine, and it's really hard sometimes to listen while you're trying to like set something else up in your head.
True.
So sometimes I've had like issues where like I just blanked out. I don't know what he's talking about because I'm so focused on getting the next question down.
Now, in a belt launcher, was this the one where you set it up so that you get on your jetpack, you jump on a belt, and it would like throw you across the map? Is that
Yeah,
what he's talking about?
because we've kind of reduced the belt speed, I think, on experimental.
Oh, okay.
So belt speed would match the actual speed of the belt, whereas before they were a bit faster. So you could get a bit more of a boost on the later tier belts.
I understand now. Crab boss. We're gonna get a crab
Crab
boss.
boss. I don't even know what that is. No, I'm just kidding. Um, we'll see.
And will the crab base have Jace's face on it? No, okay, sorry.
Let me point this out. There is a mod where you can replace the cat sprites with Jace's face.
I think that's awesome.
That mod is out there. That's like among the popular mods. You can easily find that on the mod website. Uh, that was a joke on site. Like I made a joke about that. Someone make a mod where you replace the face of the spiders with Jace, and somebody actually went and did it. Madman.
Well, that's
So
the
that
one thing.
exists.
The I don't know. They're not really spiders anymore. You guys have made them more insect, like another type of insect that's not a spider. But
Yeah. So we
they
call them
still
internally
creep.
crabs.
They still creep me out, and I usually am like, okay, I'm not going this direction. I'm going to go do something else.
Yeah. So the reason why we have arachnophobia mode is because there's someone in the studio that like could not work on the game because they have arachnophobia. So
I don't know creepophobia.
yeah.
I get creeped out, but I
Yeah.
can still function.
So
But there are people out there that can't function at all.
yeah. And that was kind of the case for us. So there was one person who just could not deal with it. So we had to add arachnophobia mode so that they could actually work on the game.
I think that's an excellent option. I think everything should have some sort of, arachnophobia mode or some other type modes that.
Yeah. There's a lot of accessibility stuff that we feel like we should have added more to in the game. We got like a great response from some people that were like having different types of color blindness or like hard of hearing. That gave us a lot of good feedback, and we just feel so bad to like not follow up on that, even though that's something that we truly want to do. And it's like something we've internally committed to it because we've sent like people to conferences where where the main conference is about accessibility in games.
Oh, okay.
We just have not had time to do it, which is like a poor excuse, actually, because we have time to do a lot of stuff. But I think we have a few things in the pipe for more better accessibility options in the game. I'm not sure.
Uh, One good suggestion they had is changing the sound of the spiders when in arachnophobia mode. So
Yeah, there's a lot of
maybe they'll go Mew instead.
there's a lot of sounds that we have thought about like adding options for. Because there's also when you have the resource scanner thing, that one is also not super great for if you're like hard of hearing or if you're like if you're visually impaired.
No.
So that's also something that we want to add like options for, so it's better and easier to use.
Some streamers are still freaked out by the spider sound. Yes, I can tell you right now, what's worse than seeing a spider and hearing it? than just hearing it and not seeing it and going, where is this thing? Where is
Yeah.
it?
Some people are saying like the cats are worse than the spiders when you add the arachnophobia mode on. It's like, great, now I'm scared of cats as well. Great. I'm sorry.
Oh, Tom, I see how. Well, okay, so it's been confirmed. If it's in the pipeline, pipes are
Oh,
confirmed.
come on. uh
Just not in the game. It's in the dev cycle. So there you
I
go.
can't I
Haha.
can't mention that word anymore without
I
people.
know. I've noticed that it's just so. What here? This is what you need to do, and everyone here watching, you guys can't give this away. What you guys need to do is put something in the game, a single item that you can get. It would name it pipe. It does.
We have
It
had
has to be useless. It has to be a useless item that you can't use. It's just there, named pipe, and therefore pipe will be in the game.
Well, there
Pop.
are lead pipes in the game. There are an item called lead pipes, you know? It's just not that type of pipe. Oh my god. So it's kind of our fault as well because that whole discussion about pipes happened from nothing really, and it wasn't like really a big discussion. And then Jace was like, "The fuck are you guys talking about pipes? Why do you want pipes? Give me like I haven't good enough good argument why you want pipes." And that just fucking made it all blow up so much
Well, now
more.
we have an entire stream of Jace looking at a pipe for an hour.
Yeah. So, we're playing into it as well, I guess, but we just have to live with our consequences.
I can tell you right now, do something like that and create memes. Just, it helps you. It helps you out.
Yeah. Pablo would be proud of our community, that's true. It's like the most triggered thing. Just go in our Discord and just go pipes and people just like, what? We have a filter on Discord where it's like every time you say the word pipe, it like adds an emote or something.
That would be interesting.
But there's a
Or have a
Easter egg.
warning from some sort of bot that says, please refrain from talking about pipes in this particular chat.
You just automatically ban people.
Like, for example, I have Streamlabs. I put it on for like a couple streams and then I removed it. It's still there. I can't get rid of it. It still does its thing.
But there are Easter eggs about pipes in the game. There are Easter eggs that people still haven't found in the game about pipes. So
Well, there you go, guys.
least
Go
that-
look.
I know.
Let me see here. Anything else? Oh, there you go. We can get a picture of pipes. Go with my sign idea.
Add the mod. Just build on the mod with the Jace face. It shouldn't be that hard to like add other pictures. Add pipes. Maybe attack you. Scary pipes.
Perfect. Guys out there, any modders out there, we need to have arachnophobia be nothing but pipes that attack you. Evil pipes.
Pipe Nightmare is the name of the mod. Pipener or something like that.
Pipophobia.
Pipophobia, that's the one. That's the coffee stain setting.
Okay, anybody else have any more questions? I have to say that it looks like right now that you are more popular than Jace was when he was on the stream.
Hell yeah, I am. Jace fucking sucks.
My playbacks, like right now, I'm at 74. When I ended his stream, it was down in the 60s, 50s. So you've had more views. Now you can go tell Jace that.
Oh, I'm gonna fucking close. Jace does have more followers than me on Twitter though, so I guess he wins in some regard. I remember back in the day when I had more followers on I can't talk. I remember when I had more followers on Twitter than Jace did. Those were the days. Oh my god.
Do you have any plans for expanding the world size, or yeah?
Is the
Or
current map done size?
Is that what it is?
I don't think the size will be increased in terms of like the size of the map that it is. It's kind of hard to like explain because I see the internal map we have. We might add stuff to the map because there's like dead areas, so to speak, on the map where there's nothing, where we might add stuff. I believe between the release version and update 1, we added like maybe that was before. But there used to be a version of the map where we added a ton of islands to one side of it that was just like oil islands that was there before. I think that was before. I think that was during alpha though. And it's not impossible that will happen.
Ooh, underwater. That'd be nice. Oh,
No
spider.
aquatic shit.
My new mode. Pipophobia. Constant water sounds when they're close.
Oh shit! You just pee yourself all the time.
Uh,
That's the thing.
okay. Do you guys define done for a feature update? Do you have a checklist?
No. We I don't think if you ask a programmer, I don't think any feature is done because there's always polish work that can be done.
And
Um,
that's you know in
the
YouTube.
thing
If
is,
I had a video, it's never done. It's just released.
yeah, yeah, I was gonna say the thing is, the game is done when we say it's done. You know, not necessarily that we think that there's nothing left to do on certain thing. Uh, so like no, rather it's done when we stop working on it.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll ever feel like anything is done, honestly.
There are some very popular games out there, Fortnite, that are still in beta because they're not done.
Yeah, exactly. And we have an ambition to have a 1.0. So we don't want to work on Satisfactory forever, I think.
Oh yeah.
So at some point I feel like we're gonna say like, no, this is it. And then we have to polish it, up. Kind of like how Factorio does it, Factorio has the same kind of mindset, I think, where they just feel like, all right, we don't want to, we got to do other shit too. That's like, I'm kind of guessing now. I don't know for sure. It feels like that's the way they view it as well. Where it's like, yeah, we want to finish the game at some point. We don't want to keep working on it for forever, or rather, we want to reach 1.0. Maybe we'll keep working on it after that. But we want to reach 1.0, and I think it's the same for Satisfactory. We want to be able to say that, yeah, we finished it.
Oh, I have a lot of things I have that are past 1.0 and they're still working on it.
Yeah.
They do a lot
I
of
mean, it's
stuff.
not impossible. Because I feel like that was the same case for Goat Sim. I feel like Coffee Sim was like, all right, we've made a bunch of Goat Sim. Let's focus on something else. Because we can. Like, we don't have to work on Goats. We can do.
True.
And I think the same for Satisfaction. Like, we could do something else later down the line whenever we're done with this game, But the problem is, like, also Satisfactory is one of those type of games where you could work on it for forever. Like Minecraft is very much a game that's been constantly in development, and Satisfactory could be one of those games.
I will be surprised when
I don't know.
Minecraft is like, okay, we're done. We're no more.
Yeah, and that's probably not going to happen. And I'm curious to see, like, if Factorio hits 1.0, I'm curious to see if they keep doing it or if they do something else, Because it's the same thing for them. They could also keep working on the game for forever. More asking for a specific feature update. Oh, you mean like, how do you know if updates are ready for release? They're not. You remember trains? It's mostly timing. If we set internally that we say that we want to be done for update blah at this time, and we feel like it's good enough, then we'll release it. So it's really hard. We barely know. Like, we felt that trains were in a good state when we released it initially, and then we kind of felt like, because that's the reason why we're kind of playing in the dark right now with update 3 and taking our time more so with it. So because we don't want to do that again. We've done that. We've done that experience where we released trains and people felt like it was kind of not fully implemented. We're like, all right, let's take that critique and take our time with the next update, and make sure that we're really satisfied with what we release next time instead of just getting it out because everybody wants it to get it out.
Do you think they're going to add any new cars to trains at any point?
No idea.
Okay. Tom's talking about being able to dive underwater so that he can get out of certain. He gets stuck with water and things.
I don't know. Maybe request it on the questions side. I don't know of any diving related features that we've talked about in terms.
Okay.
More so than we've at some point. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if it's just Jace trolling, but so my view on it is the same as everyone else, I guess. But like I think we've said that we're not going to do much aquatics at all. Make sure the Satisfactory is Satisfactory. Gotta live up the name.
Do you have any other questions, guys? I got 20 more minutes, guys. So, unfortunately, I actually have a job that I actually have to go to after this.
It's so weird that time zones are weird, dude. I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed after this.
You are, yes, and you just so everyone knows, for people who aren't going around, it's 10:40 for them over there.
Yes.
So there's a 9-hour difference.
Yeah, I'm recognizing a lot of names here, so I think everyone is pretty much in the same time zone as me.
Okay, awesome.
Maybe. There's some Dutchies and some UK people.
Which is awesome. I love it. The best thing I ever do on when I'm streaming is talking to other people from other countries and figuring out what's awesome about it. So I can tell you, I ask people on my stream all the time, if I were to go to your home state, wherever you are right now, and I need to get something to eat, and you are there to suggest the best thing I could possibly eat, what would you suggest?
So here's one thing that I think is really interesting. I would suggest you get a burger. Like if you go to my city, Gothenburg, there's this burger place that I always recommend to my American friends. Every single American friend I've had that go to that place they're always surprised that burgers are really good in Sweden. And specifically that place is really good. And I think that's really interesting. Because I think maybe Americans feel that you guys nail burgers, I think, in general, and I think a lot of that Sweden has like taking that kind of culture and that kind of like approach to burgers, and we've just adapted that to our own burgers. And I think that's surprising to a lot of Americans that we just like stole your burger culture, I think. So a lot of people say, a lot of my American friends always tell me that they're really surprised that there are really good burgers in Sweden because they didn't think that was the case. So that's the thing I would recommend, I think. And if I would recommend anything that's like maybe that you won't find in the States, maybe I would probably recommend like those classic Swedish meals like meatballs and mashed potatoes that you can get like at IKEA maybe in the States.
Okay.
But there's like more to it. There's like because we have like two types of sauces with it as well, which is strange. But if you want that Swedish culinary experience, then I would recommend that.
Hey, that's good. Okay, we had a wonderful question by Simon, and he asks, why do you like him so much?
Why I like Simon? Because Simon's such a fucking nice guy. He's so fucking positive and caring. Simon is like one of the most caring people you can find out there. There's this story that Jace told me when I started working at Coffee Stain about how like Jace and Simon played Dota together, and like the whole enemy team like got connection issues or something. And Jace was like, "All right, let's fucking get him." And Simon was like, "No, we'll wait until they come back." Jace was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, we can totally win." And it's like, "No, let's wait." And that's such a Simon move. Just fucking think of everyone else.
Okay. One more time, guys. I'm gonna do a little promotion. If you haven't liked the video, please do. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Um, and if you work for Coffee Stain or any other gaming company, contact me and I will interview you because I can have wonderful interviews like I'm doing here with Snutt. Because this is a really good interview. I'm going to say this right now. I'm enjoying this thoroughly.
Nice. I'm having a lot of fun too.
Okay, let me see here.
I like talking.
Are you ever going to revisit existing features to make them work
Make them better.
like vehicle
Um,
auto pathing?
Short answer, yes. Long answer, we have done that in the past for a few things. We have redone. It's not super noticeable, but the way the build gun works, we've redone kind of how it figures out where to snap stuff. And yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that, because like we've done a lot of reworks behind the scenes now for update 3. So hopefully a few things that people have used will be better now. So I guess, yeah, yes, we will.
How did Blame Simon start?
Blame Simon started with, so the thing that I mentioned, that Simon is like the most kind-hearted person ever. So it started ironically with Jace. Like I think the first time it occurred was on when Jace was writing up like our FAQ for the game, and he kept like referring to like, or if it's before that when we were talking about like we're gonna have an alpha and it's gonna be in May, and if it's not in May, then it's because of Simon delayed, like Simon fucked something up. So it's all Simon's fault if that's the case, and that evolved to like, yeah, that FAQ where it's like what's in the game, like, oh, if this doesn't work, blame Simon, it's his fault.
Okay.
And then that became a meme, and that's what we roll with it, and that it evolved into like the Simon Saga thing we did when we had alpha, where we'd make like a small little episode about how like Simon would fuck up development of the game every time, or like eat keys and stuff like that. It was really weird. um so that evolved from like the fact, yeah, it's like ironic, like it's not Simon's fault, but let's say it is.
Oh, that sounds like me. I happen to blame whenever time I'm a technician and I go out to a call what I'm doing. I always blame the first person I see. I say it's their fault.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I just got here. I know. I know that you have nothing to do with this, but it's your fault. Okay. What is your long-term plans for Game Dev Circle?
Ooh. So my long-term plans are, um so I would love to work on that full time, at least for a bit. The problem is that I really like my job at Coffee Stain. It is really hard to like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I'll ever get as good as a game dev job as I will at Coffee Stain, because Coffee Stain are really nice people. Management are really nice. We work on really interesting stuff. There's a lot of fun people to work with, and there's a lot of trust put in everyone. And it's a small studio. It's not a big studio. Yeah. So yada yada yada. It's really nice to work at Coffee Stain, and it's a really nice experience. And it's really hard to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go and start a YouTube channel now and work on that instead. Um, but what I'd like to do is I would like to eventually, and this is the first time I say this anywhere, is that I would like to at some point make a feature-long film about a documentary about Swedish game development scene.
Ooh, I would totally watch that.
Um, yeah, that I would love to like air at a cinema. in Sweden or something like that, and have like an actual screening of.
Netflix.
But that will probably be way down the line or further down the line when I've done a bunch of interviews. Because right now I like the format that I'm doing. I'd like to do a bit more, but that's just like not interviews, but more vloggy type day to day kind of life videos. Um, so we'll see. It all depends on like how much time I have, because the interview videos take so much time to make. It takes like a month to make one episode. Uh, and if I'm to add videos in between that, it's really hard. Uh, if I'm also doing, game dev stuff full time. So we'll see. I don't know. Right now, I'm pretty happy with the place I am at, and I'm really looking for. I'll see what happens after I release the next video, because that might get a bit of traction.
Okay.
So we'll see. But yeah, the long term goal that I would like to do is to make a like full length documentary about game dev in Sweden, because I've had a lot of cool experiences in Gothenburg with game dev stuff. I had a bunch of cool in Krimdule. They're really different cities compared to like how we develop stuff. And then I visited Malmö, which is a city in the southern part of Sweden that also has a pretty strong indie game scene, and they have a very different culture in terms of game dev. And it's really interesting how different game dev works in Sweden. And game dev is like one of Sweden's biggest like exports in terms of revenue. It's like the fourth biggest source of income for Sweden, and it's like bigger than our movies industry. So Sweden has a big stronghold of game dev jobs right now. Like there's a lot of game dev happening in Sweden that I think is really fascinating. So I think Sweden is really interesting in that regard. Hence why I'd like to make a documentary about that.
Okay.
So that I think that is
that's awesome.
long.
I would totally watch that. So you need to make a way so that Americans like me get to watch that. If you so do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fortress over in Twitch said that once you get to 1.0, and if you just stop right there, then only a certain amount of people will buy it from that point on.
Well, yeah. So there's different
promote, I guess.
There's a different aspects to that, because there's still a lot of people that have never heard of Satisfactory.
It's true.
So like market wise, we can always I think we can always build sales, there's always prospects. You just need to figure out how to get them, and that's generally in games. But generally in games, how it works is generally like you get the most sales when you release so it kind of stagnates after
True.
that. That's the common sales structure. But that's not to say that we can't like break out of that.
I do have to say, no matter what you do, promotion, I guess I'll generalize everything under promotion. Promotion is the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing on my YouTube channel. It's the hardest thing selling a game. It's the hardest thing on anything and everything.
Yeah, and if you consider like when Modern Warfare or Call of Duty are released, half the budget is marketing for those type of. So that's why they get such big reach. And a few games have managed to like market their way from a poor release to get good sales later, like Hitman, and I think Titanfall had the same type of situation where not a lot of people showed up at release for the first Titanfall, but they kind of grew.
Yeah,
so it's like not impossible.
Okay. I have two more questions, and then we're going to start winding down. That because you probably are very tired right now, and I want
not really.
You're not really tired.
Oh, I usually go to bed at like 2 a.m.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have to worry about that then.
No.
Any chance that the Explorer Mark II will be a Cybertruck?
So, legal reasons mostly is probably why that.
I'm so
maybe I shouldn't say anything. Maybe it will happen. I don't know.
Yeah, Elon Musk, if you happen to be watching my channel, no, okay.
Yeah. Elon, if you're there, follow me on Twitter.
And me too.
Follow me on Twitter. It's like a long running joke that I try to get Tim Sweeney to follow me on Twitter. So if everybody here could go in and add Tim Sweeney to follow me on Twitter, that would be great. I was at a conference where I had a talk about Satisfactory, and I had a slide specifically about how, like, can everybody go in and add Tim Sweeney so we can follow me on Twitter? I've gotten him to respond to me. He knows who I am, so I like. He knows I'm out there to get him. He's so hard to win over.
So now he's doing it out of spite. Oh, that's so awesome, though.
Yeah, because he was like, "You need to step up your programming jokes, man."
Perfect. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Team Sweeney, if you haven't do it, you should follow me so that I can then tweet Snutt and say, "Ha."
Oh my god.
And then
that would be so.
But like, I don't know if we really want that to happen, because then you would unfollow me immediately. Oh, I'm not gonna follow him anymore.
But that, so I never get jealous of anyone. Like, I feel like the older I get, the less like I care about jealousy and stuff like that. But if like Team Sweeney followed Jace on Twitter, I would be so mad. I'd be like, oh my god, fuck you, buddy. Oh, I've worked so hard to get that follow. Yeah.
That is so awesome. Okay. Yeah. Any other final questions? We have 5 minutes left, guys. I don't know. Sit there. Again, I'm gonna sit there. I'm gonna keep promoting myself a little bit. Follow, subscribe, please.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell.
Smash that 2019 style.
Share. This is the bigger thing for Jace. If you like Jace, you think Jace is awesome, this particular video you should share on Twitter. You should share on any media platform ever, because I think this is a great interview for him. And help him out with, go over to Game Dev Circle and go, subscribe to that too. I want him to go, wow, I got like 10 subscribers from just this interview? That's awesome.
Yeah, that's dope.
And we can also, tweet Jace that Snutt did much better on my channel. The interview process than he did. I have. It's at 100 and something right now for views. But that took a couple days to get there. So. And I did not have 10 to 11 people watching it almost all the time on his. His was 5 or 6. I got up to 9. But yeah. We're doing good. We're doing very good.
It's because he's on Tuesday. It's a Tuesday, right? Maybe you innovated him on like a weird day.
It's possible.
That thing is also random.
I'm surprised he's not watching right now. We've been goading him the entire time. Either he's watching and not responding, or.
But dude, like, Jace sees me every fucking day. I sit behind him. We literally sit next to each other.
Oh,
give him some fucking breather, all right? He gets enough of me.
True. Okay. Awesome.
It's funny because like me and Jace have this high pitched laughter. Simon tweeted about it today, because I tweeted that I was working from home today, and they flew like there's like this thing in Sweden today where they flew like fighter jets with the formation of a tree. And that was so fucking loud. And I tweeted like, oh my god, that was so incredibly loud. And then Simon was like, yeah, now you know how it feels whenever you guys laugh upstairs. So me and Jace have this high-pitched laughter. So if one of us laughs, everybody in the studio hears it. If we both laugh at the same time, it fucking like earthquakes like go off and fucking tectonic plates move and shit. It's a doozy.
Okay, here we go. We got a few more questions at the very end. Do you have any expectation for when proper mod support will be released? Will it be for Epic exclusivity?
So when you say Epic exclusivity, I assume you mean like before March. And having mod support before March, I highly doubt it, because we said that we would have dedicated server support before we had mod support, and dedicated server are not super far off. I think I haven't worked with this, so I don't know. So I'm kind of like guessing right now. But I don't think dedicated servers are super far off, but they're probably still a bit like I don't know. I don't know when mod support might happen feasibly. Um, but I feel like it's not like it's again one of those things. It's probably a lot of work, but it's work that like once we do it, I don't think it would take that long to actually fully make it. Um, but I'm also kind of guesstimating, so I might be super wrong about that.
Okay.
Because a lot of the mod work is already done. But yeah, no, I don't think it will happen before March. I think it's to that.
Okay. Uh, what do you consider proper mod support?
Proper mod support is, oh, I don't know if we've disclosed what it exactly will mean. Uh, but proper mod support will be that people will have an easy time to like extend what we've done. We'll give people tools so that they can uh, add stuff.
Okay, so it's just going to be the backend type of stuff for mod support. You're not going to have a more streamlined way of implementing them.
I don't know. I think we will, because we really care about mods. Been like a pillar of development that we have mods. There's a lot of stuff that's like the save system is made in a very complex way just because we want to be able to support mods. So there's a lot of work done for it, but there's still like there's the packaging part of it, I guess, sort
Okay.
of like for us to be able to distribute for people. There's also the side of it where if we want to distribute mods on via Epic Store or via Epic somehow, we also need to work out with them how that would work if we haven't already. Uh, because it's possible that Epic would want to like develop ways to make distribution better or easier for us, or if there's ways we can solve that, somehow. There's always going to be a way to distribute mods. We just need to like figure out, what's the easiest for us and can Epic do. And Epic has been really helpful in terms of like providing services for us in general, and like help us figure out how to, like when we had the experimental branches, stuff like that. That's kind of like a special thing that Epic did for us.
Okay, and let's see. Last question, guys. Just last question. Will Satisfactory be released on Steam next year? Because there's a policy that has something to do with exclusivity on other platforms. I don't even know anything
Yeah.
about that.
So I don't know. I don't
That's
know
what I
anything about
thought.
that. Yeah.
that would be the
It
CEO that we talked about earlier. This.
I was just gonna say, like we talked about our managers at Coffee Stain, like those type of decisions are completely up to them. We have we probably we can voice our opinions about it, because like we may have opinions like as to like maybe we don't want to release something, but we do want to release something. We can always voice those opinions, but we are not really the ones who make the decision. It's the upper management, and we're kind of happy that we don't have to make those decisions because we want to make games. We don't necessarily like want to focus on that. Uh, so we'll see. I guess is the answer.
Basically,
I
what
don't
he's
know.
saying, guys, is if you want him to concentrate on that, he won't be able to do all the other things he's doing now anyway.
Yeah, no, honestly, that's actually an argument, because if we were to release on Steam, we would need to support the same features that we have on Epic right now with the connectivity stuff. So
That's
that
true.
we'd need to support that, and we don't have support for that.
So yeah, it
So
might be a little later than
they would
normal,
work.
just because you have to implement the back end stuff, and
Yeah.
and that's it there. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're done. I got my 2 hour mark. Thank you, Snutt.
Nope.
You have been awesome for my
Likewise.
interversation.
Interversation. Put that in the fucking dictionary.
My interversation, patented, copyrighted, anything else that I can think of off the top of my head of what that is. Thank you guys, everyone out there. At the end, please hit that like button. I'm 7 likes and 11 viewers. Guys, 7 likes and 11 viewers. And I know not every single one of you guys are one of those likes. I could get up to 15 likes with all you guys hit the like button. Yeah. And if you guys, please let anyone and everyone know that I'm out there. I do good interviews or interversations. If they are shy and they don't want to be in front of in a stream, I understand 100%. But if they're willing to brave it, I'm here.
It's an open casting call.
It's open casting call, guys.
Yeah.
And comment down below after this video comes on anyone you think I should interview, because I need to go after Relogic for Terraria because I'm a big Terraria guy.
Ooh, that would be cool.
I'm not going to quite go after Microsoft because they're the ones that own Microsoft. Minecraft right now.
Yeah.
Even though they are in Seattle, I don't think I can get them right now.
But you still have Mojang. They're in Sweden still, and they're the ones who are actually developing it. Actually, so Kaplan, who works for us at publishing, he used to work at Mojang at Minecraft.
I would
Stockholm.
guess anyone at I call it. I know it's Mojang, and I always say things wrong. I'm sorry, I say Mojang.
Yeah, I think the proper way. I think the proper way to pronounce stuff, if you're speaking English, I'm trying to change, is that you pronounce it in English or the American or English pronunciation.
So the proper way to say it in English would be Mojang.
I think so, because honestly, if I think that's the best way to have people understand it. Because when I say my surname, I always say it in English, like Trapto, because then people are okay, and they write it down and they get it. If I say it in Swedish, Trapto, then people go like, what? So I feel like my preference is that if you speak English, you should pronounce stuff in English.
Okay, awesome.
That's my opinion.
And we should do this again at some point. I'm not going to do it for a while because I ran out of questions and
yeah, gotta get an update.
And when we get the update out, I know I'll do Jace again. Hopefully he'll let me. And I know that if I can, goad him, then maybe he can try to outdo you in his next interview, and you guys can have a good conversation going. Yeah, it'd be nice.
Yeah.
Until then,
you'd get us both on.
Ooh.
I
don't know how to do that.
Can you just sit in the same room?
Yeah, that's probably how I would have to do, because I'm only using Discord, but I don't know how to do multiple calls in Discord.
Yeah, it's really like when we've done it for our streams, I have to crop out in Discord the faces so that it matches. So if one of them disconnects, it fucks up the whole layout.
Okay, thank you guys for watching me. Thank you for getting me up to 9 likes. 9 likes is awesome. I enjoy it. And Snutt, you're awesome.
Likewise. It was a pleasure.
I will be Twitter because that's the one way I know. Oh, I got a follow too. That's awesome. At least one that registered. YouTube is weird. If you have a setting which is usually on, it won't do my little notification thing, and that's most people. Yeah. So thank you very much. I hope you have a good evening. I will Twitterize this wonderful thing. And guys, now that we're stopped talking, go immediately over to his. It's in the comments down below. Go over to his thing. Watch his 2 videos of Game Dev Circle. They are awesome. One of them is of Jace. One of them is, what was her name again?
Karen,
which was another really good one. I enjoyed that one a lot too. She is a brilliant artist, and I collect art, so awesome. I love artists. Her stuff is just immaculate.
Yes.
And yeah, thank you guys for everything. I will see you guys later. Adios.
Adios.